Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the origin of an absolute modern myth, Captain America. We are heading way back to World War II to see exactly how a 90-pound kid from Brooklyn transformed into a legendary cinematic icon.
So we're actually skipping the usual agenda today because we need to kick things off with a massive question. What happens when ultimate power is handed over to fundamentally different human souls? I mean, think about it. The entire narrative we're looking at today hinges on this one concept. It's an exploration of character just as much as it is a wild sci-fi war story.
You know, there's this great moment where Dr. Abraham Erskine is testing Steve, asking if he just wants to go out and kill Nazis. And Steve's answer? It perfectly anchors the journey we're about to take. He just sincerely looks at him and says, "I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from." It's such a powerful reminder that true heroism absolutely starts from within.
All right, let's get into Section 1, A Tale of Two Men.
The contrast we're dealing with here is just wild. On one hand, you've got Steve Rogers. He's this 5-foot-tall, 90-pound asthmatic kid who is so desperate to serve his country, he's been rejected by the military 4 separate times. 4F. Then, on the complete opposite side, you've got Johann Schmidt. He's a terrifying, hyper-ambitious tyrant who is busy invading Norway in 1942, totally obsessed with the occult and securing superior power.
And what Schmidt finds over there is the Tesseract. Now, this is a mysterious, crazy powerful cosmic artifact. And instead of, studying it safely, Schmidt and his rogue science division, Hydra, immediately weaponize it. He brings in his specialist, Dr. Zola, to literally siphon off the cube's limitless energy to build these totally unstoppable cannons and energy weapons. Meanwhile, back in the States, Dr. Erskine spots Steve and enlists him in Project Rebirth, and Erskine drops this incredible piece of wisdom. He tells Steve that because he has been weak his whole life, he will actually not lose respect for the strength he's about to gain. It's the idea that someone who's never known struggle, like Schmidt, is just going to inevitably abuse that power.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Project Rebirth experiment.
All right, so hidden beneath a random Brooklyn antique shop, Steve undergoes this absolutely grueling pseudoscience procedure. Forget hitting the gym, Howard Stark and Dr. Erskine literally inject muscle regenerators directly into Steve's major muscle groups and then bombard his entire body with Vita rays. The goal here is to push human biology to its absolute maximum potential.
And the result? It is immediate. The capsule opens up and out steps Steve. But he's a full foot taller and packed with 100 pounds of solid muscle. I mean, Erskine's crazy experiment actually worked flawlessly.
But of course, tragedy strikes literally seconds later. Right in the middle of a celebration, a Hydra operative named Heinz Kruger assassinates Dr. Erskine and destroys the very last vial of the serum. So the secret formula is just completely lost. It dies right there with Erskine, making Steve this absolute anomaly, the first and only successful super soldier in existence.
Which brings us to Section 3, From Mascot to Hero.
So with the formula gone, the military completely sidelines their greatest asset. Instead of fighting on the front lines, Steve gets shoved into USO tours to promote war donations. He's performing in scripted shows under the stage name Captain America, starring in comic books and film strips. Imagine having all that incredible power and just growing so intensely weary of performing safely while other guys are out there risking their lives. Well, in November 1943, he finally gets his chance. Steve learns that his best friend Bucky Barnes' unit is lost behind enemy lines. So he goes completely rogue. Stark and Peggy Carter secretly fly him out to the battlefield. He parachutes in, infiltrates this massive Hydra factory, and manages to free Bucky and a ton of other prisoners.
And during this crazy escape, we literally see the two sides of the serum clash. Schmidt confronts Steve and pulls off his human mask to reveal this horrifying red skull-like face. It turns out his own premature, ambitious use of an imperfect serum permanently disfigured him. So you have the Red Skull on one side and Captain America, the perfected result of the serum, on the other.
All right, Section 4, The Fall of Hydra.
Now that Steve is officially in the fight, Howard Stark outfits him with a brand new tactical uniform and his iconic circular shield. But this isn't just any metal, it's Vibranium. It's lighter than steel, totally vibration resistant, and capable of absorbing massive, heavy impacts. It's the ultimate defensive tool for a guy whose first instinct is to protect.
So from 1943 to 1945, Steve and his Howling Commandos systematically sabotage Hydra bases all over the map. They're dismantling the organization piece by piece. But war always has a devastating cost.
During a super dangerous assault on a high-speed Hydra train in 1945, they managed to capture Dr. Zola, but Bucky tragically falls from the train to his apparent death.
Channeling all that profound grief, Steve violently storms Red Skull's final stronghold. And there's this great beat where Schmidt, arrogant as ever, demands to know what makes Steve so special. And Steve? He doesn't brag. He proudly reminds the tyrant of his humble roots, simply saying, "Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn."
This leads us right into Section 5, the ultimate sacrifice.
Things hit a crucial point. Steve manages to board the Valkyrie, this massive Tesseract-powered bomber loaded with weapons aimed at major U.S. cities, right during takeoff. A brutal fight breaks out, and the Tesseract's containment console gets damaged. Schmidt, panicking, physically touches the cube. Bad idea. He is instantly sucked into this blinding space wormhole, and the Tesseract just burns right through the plane and drops into the ocean.
So the Red Skull's gone, but Steve is left alone on a doomed aircraft. Knowing those weapons will detonate if he tries to land safely, he makes the absolute ultimate sacrifice. He forcefully crashes the bomber directly into the freezing Arctic ice, all while saying this truly heartbreaking goodbye over the radio to Peggy Carter. Decades pass. Steve is lost to the cold, until, suddenly, he wakes up. He breaks out of a fake 1940s recovery room and runs straight into modern-day Times Square. Director Nick Fury catches up to him and drops the absolute bombshell. Steve has been asleep in the ice for nearly 70 years.
Stunned by that immense loss of time and trying to process that everyone and everything he knew is just gone, Steve's only response is a whisper, "I had a date." It perfectly highlights the immense, gut-wrenching personal tragedy behind his heroic sacrifice.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought to chew on. What happens when a fundamentally good man from the 1940s wakes up to a completely changed, cynical world? A world that, honestly, still desperately needs him. It's a question that sets up a legendary cinematic legacy. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time.